Naomi, Jessica, here we are. Now this is session 14. Quite amazing, actually, when you think about how we started it kind of casually, right? We just had a concept of it. We didn't know exactly how it was going to go or whatever, but so far I'm really thrilled with the way it's going.
Me too.
And Naomi, you're getting a lot out of it.
I truly am.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Your life changed?
It had. Not 100%. Meaning, I don't know what to expect, how much of the change, but I know there has been change, and it's gradual. Sometimes you don't recognize the change until it's like, oh yeah, that's
Right.
why it happened.
Right. Yeah, that's no, that's a good point. It's that's why I often say, and I often say it as a bit of a joke, but it's true too. And that is, it changed my life there, And the first one that I mentioned was shining my shoes, right? Now, a skeptical person could say, well, you didn't change your life, you just shined your shoes, right? Yeah, but my shoes were a part of my life. So, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is, if you think about the fact that your life is changing, or you're changing it, then you're going to spot more things, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So if you're on the lookout for it, seek and you shall find, kind of thing. If you're looking for if you're looking for the changes, yeah.
I've said that a lot. That's huge. That seek and you shall find, knock and the door shall be open. That like this whole thing was made, or that verse describes this whole thing, I think. Meaning, you're looking for it, you're thinking about it, you're pursuing it, and the action of actually knocking is the pursuit of what you want. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And and even small changes, even small little changes, they can have a compound effect, right? Like, have you heard of a guy named Brian Tracy? He's an author, business consultant. He's spoken to, I don't know, 3 million people or something. He's written about 50 books, and he's a really interesting guy. Used to live in Vancouver, actually. And at any rate, he has this idea about doubling your income, but it also applies to doubling your personal power, or doubling anything else, right? And what he says is, could you improve your life, or improve your business, or improve your sales, whatever you happen to be thinking about, by 0.1% today? Well, of course you can, right? Make one more phone call, smile at one more person, try one more thing. And but he says, if you think about it, if you make a habit of doing that every day, then 0.1%, well, every 10 days that's 1%. So every month that's 3%. And over 12 months that's 36% increase, right? But he said that's just mathematical, right? But there is a kind of a curve, what's that curve called there? The parabola or whatever, it kind of increases, right? Rather than being linear in improvement. So even though, technically you're improving your life over the course of a year, 36%. So in 3 years, it's going to be double, right, theoretically. In actual fact, if you do that every day, focusing on making a little positive change every day, then, things can just sort of quantum leap, right? If you're working on your confidence, for example, then you do something to improve your confidence every day, and it might not be too long. You feel like a totally different person, right? So this compounding effect is really important.
Yeah, a friend of mine, just on this subject, it was really interesting. A friend of mine, you might actually know her, Susan Binney, was at the same event that I met you at.
Yeah.
She's hosting these events every month, and she's just kind of starting getting it going again. They're online. And so the first time she ran it recently, like last month, she had like 5 or 6 people show up, but only one person paid, right? Because she's still trying to promote it. And so she's bringing some people on, like myself, just to be in the crowd, basically, right? And so then she ran it again last Monday, and she was feeling really defeated because she says, well, I've got about 8 people coming, but only 3 people paid. And I said, right, so you tripled what you did the month before. And it took her, like, she was feeling really defeated until I mentioned, like, do you realize that you tripled what you did the month before? And all of a sudden she stood there and she's like, okay, you're right, I can do this. Like, but we forget, right? Like you were saying, Naomi, we sometimes forget the progress that we're making because we're not looking at that. We're just looking at what we haven't done yet. And so it was really kind of cool to see her whole demeanor just shift when I said that.
Yeah, that's right. I heard a story about the guy that started FedEx, right? I can't remember his name now, but apparently he was in school. I think he might have been at Harvard Business School, and his PhD thesis or final project, whatever it was, he outlined this business plan to start FedEx, right? Where we could absolutely, positively, deliver your letter or your package overnight, right? And so his professors gave him a failing grade. They said it was a stupid idea. Why would anybody pay $10 to have a letter delivered overnight when they can get the U.S. Postal Service to deliver it in a couple of days for 50 cents, right? But anyway, as as these entrepreneurs always do, he said, to heck with it, I'm going to do it anyway, right? So he got the money together and the financing, and he started FedEx. And the story I heard was that the first day they tried to deliver, I think, 50 packages, right, or 50 letters, whatever it was, and by 10 a.m. Well, only one of them made it. Only one letter arrived on time, right? So he had a meeting with his staff, and he said, that's fantastic. We figured out what it takes to deliver a letter overnight, and arrive before 10 a.m. And so that's a huge win, right? Now all we have to do is figure out how to do more of them, So the 49 that didn't make it, he didn't think about those so much, right? So that's that kind of a Pollyanna, people criticize attitude. It really pays off, and if you listen to athletes who are sort of professional self-improvement people, right? I mean, they're trying to improve their performance in some area. They focus for years and years, and they talk about, doing the personal best, right? So they might not win, they might not win the race, but they're looking at their personal best. So if they run the race 1/100th of a second faster than they did before, for them that's a big win, even though they might have come 5th or something in the race, right? So, and that kind of an attitude, it really pays off because you can feel it in your body, when you have a win, right? And also you're focused on, okay, now how can I improve it? What can I do, And so, yeah, small improvements, baby steps, right? I mean, nobody would ever look at a baby trying to walk and say, come on, this baby's been trying this now for 3 weeks and she's only made 2 steps, she's never going to do it, right? Nobody would say that. So yeah, that's great. So you're now of course the thing is about changing your life, Naomi. Your life's changing all the time anyway, right?
It is.
before you came on, Jessica and I were talking about, you know, changes that happen at work sometimes, you know, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, everything's changed now, right? Somebody leaves or some new person comes and everything changes. So changes are going to happen anyway. But of course, the difference between this idea, our program here, what we're doing, is that we're doing it consciously. So it's not unconscious changes, you know, it's the conscious ones, and that's really the secret, right? So last week, I think it was, I said there's no advanced mind power techniques. There's only advanced mind power students, right? And I think, you know, that's true, because once you learn to visualize, you know, then you visualize. And we're going to talk about that today, actually. And but there are sort of advanced ways of doing things, right? Like I heard Phil Mickelson, who's a professional golfer, legendary golfer. He happens to be in some big trouble now. He made some comments a little while ago that got a lot of people upset. Anyway, he talks about, you know, if you move your finger a quarter of an inch, it takes 3 yards off, you know, when you hit the 9-iron, right? And if you move your thumb over a little bit, then, you know, you add 5 yards. And so these guys, they hit the ball hundreds of times a day to practice. And if you've ever seen these people play up close, it's astounding, right? I mean, they can hit a ball like 250, 300 yards, like 3 football fields, and they can land it within a couple of feet of where they're aiming, right? Now that's, I mean, you know, that's amazing. So you and I can hit a golf ball, but we can't do it with that accuracy and that length and do it over and over and over again, right? So there are some sort of advanced, even though there's no, I said there's no advanced techniques, maybe there's advanced ways of doing it, right, of understanding it. So I'm going to talk about that today. Now, I want to give a little bit of a caveat here for people who may watch this video, the thousands, you know, the thousands of people that may find this video. Because I'm going to talk about a couple things today that might seem a little bizarre or a little bit like strange, esoteric, woo-woo, kind of completely meaningless things, right? And I'm pretty sure that people who might watch this video, and this is their first exposure to what we're doing here, they might say, this doesn't apply to me. This is so strange, you know. I'm not interested in what this guy's talking about. But since you guys have been with me now for, you know, 14 weeks, more or less, you've sort of gradually, as we have talked about, you know, your awareness and your thinking is kind of expanded a little bit. So I'm anticipating, or I fully expect, that you guys will grasp this without any problem, right? Even though it might, you know, the concepts might be new to you, right? So the first one that I was going to talk about was opening the third eye. Now, have you guys heard of this? Jessica's heard about it. Naomi hasn't heard about it. Well, when I was first studying this whole thing about mind and consciousness, right? The reason I got into it was because I had this dream, which I talked about, right? And so that dream, it really impacted me. I'm still talking about it. Here it is, you know, 65 years later now. And so I had 2 or 3 different ideas about it. One was that it was real. It was a real connection to the future somehow, right? And so the other thing was, how is that possible? because everything I've heard, you know, says it isn't possible, right? And yet it happened to me. So I started studying it. So I started reading physics, and I read a lot of metaphysics, and I read a lot of Eastern philosophy, you know, Indian philosophy, Asian philosophy, where they tend to talk about this kind of stuff. Specifically yoga, right? You've all heard of yoga. And so the third eye is a concept that you hear in yoga, right? Yoga philosophy, Asian philosophy, right? And so if you talk to yoga practitioners, they talk about, you know, consciousness and chakras and kundalini going up your spine, and, you know, have you heard of any of these concepts? So I was reading all this stuff, right? Trying to figure out, okay, what is this and how does it relate to the mind and time, you know, because they would have expressions in there about multiple universes and time travel, you know, and stuff like this. So one of the things that we've talked about already, or I've talked about already a couple of weeks ago, was this idea that the inner senses that we are using, you know, when we close our eyes. And of course, we can use them with our eyes open too, right? Like I can imagine one of my dogs, I have a couple dogs living with me now because my son is here, he's got 2 dogs. So I can imagine one of those dogs sitting in the middle of the floor here. I can literally see that dog, right? It's not as clear as the real dog. It's kind of a fuzzy, shadowy kind of a picture, kind of like a double exposure negative, you know. But I can certainly see it. I got my eyes open. So that's my inner senses, right? Now, when we start visualizing and we do these morning visualization, I say, okay, imagine you're watching a movie of yourself going through your day, you know. It takes a little while, but after a while you get to be able to sort of see it or sense it. It might not be totally visual, but you get you get a sense of it, right? And what I believe you're doing is you're just simply exercising nerves that you haven't exercised before, you know, visual nerves, right? And so when you start changing your beliefs, because the way we think, part of how we think is visual, part of it is kinesthetic with our feelings and emotions, right? Part of it is the self-talk in our heads. Those 3 things are virtually going on all the time, right? And as we start changing our beliefs, you know, like I'm a person of power and I have the ability to change my life, and my life is changing every day, and, you know, those kind of things. We start to accept those beliefs, and then we start to notice things with our inner senses, or maybe even the outer senses, because they work together, right? At least that's my theory, you know, that inner senses and outer senses work together. So the idea, you know, that we can see things that other people can't see, I mean, that's a common thing, right? Love is blind, as they say, you know. Somebody looks at their partner and they're the most attractive person in their life. Other people go, geez, you know, how much, you know, what are you smoking, right? So anyway, so the third eye. So one of the things that I was reading about was yoga. You know, and I would do these yoga postures and the breathing and, you know, waiting for the kundalini to rise up my spine and this kind of stuff. And none of it, you know, none of it seemed to be happening, right? But eventually I realized, hey, wait a second now, this third eye that they're talking about, it's your inner senses, right? It's the ability to visualize. That's all it is, right? It sounds very mystical and esoteric and stuff, but, you know, it's just perfectly natural, right? And of course, when we're kids in school, they tell us not to daydream, you know, to learn to pay attention, to focus. And of course, learning to focus kind of takes that inner sense away because you're focused on the physical world. You know, you're doing your homework or you're paying attention to the teacher or something like that. So I was just going to show you this. I'll share my screen here. I was going to show you some ideas about this third eye, right? which everybody thinks, ooh, so mysterious, right? So here is, here's a thought. This is, so here's a book, by the way. I read this years ago. As a matter of fact, I actually met this guy. His name is Lobsang Rampa, right? And the story is really interesting, and this was a huge bestseller. I mean, this book, I mean, you can look at the cover here, right? This was obviously, this is a book, you know, this one obviously was published in England. But if you go online, like I did this week, getting ready for this session, you know, I found out that this book sold like millions and millions and millions of copies. Well, I read it, and it was really interesting. He wrote a whole series of books, this guy. And what he said was, he was an English guy, and he said that he was the reincarnation of a Tibetan monk, right? And nobody believed him. But anyway, the stories, you know, were very interesting. So here's what one person says about the third eye here. This is a holistic teacher here. The third eye gives us the ability to see beyond what is physically present in the moment. Well, that's what memory is, right? Can you remember having dinner last night? Ah, that's the third eye, right? Well, I've never heard any yoga teacher say that, but that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's, you know, that's how I see it, right? So it's perfectly natural. Sorry?
One question. Would you think, like, creative people, like my husband can visualize something and then build it?
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. I mean, think of an architect, right? A designer, you know. I mean, it's just a perfectly natural part of our abilities. A natural part of our, you know, brain, right? But it has this real kind of mysterious, you know, mystical element to it. So, so here's the next slide here, right? So all of this information I found basically just looking on Wikipedia, you know, for the last few days. So here it says the third eye is a mystical and esoteric concept of a speculative invisible eye, usually depicted as located in the forehead, which provides perception beyond ordinary sight. In Indian spiritual traditions, the third eye refers to the Ajna chakra, right? That's from Wikipedia. And it says here, if you hang around New Age circles long enough, you've likely heard talk of the third eye, the sixth chakra and an epicenter of intuition and psychic ability, right? Well, I believe, and I've talked about this already, if you can remember what you had for dinner last night, you're psychic. You know, I'm serious. You know, I'm not joking. And if you can imagine, you know, what it will be like when you clean up your dishes in your kitchen, and oh, wouldn't it be nice to have all these dishes gone? You're psychic, right? That's psychic ability. So, you know, and like I say, I haven't heard of too many other people talk about this, but to me it seems obvious, right? So here's another one. It says clairvoyance may be one result of developing your third eye, but this energy center is responsible for so much more than predicting future phenomena. Predicting future phenomena, well, to me, that's goal setting, right? When we open the third eye, we become aware of the big picture. Ah, that's interesting, right? Like when we do this morning and evening visualization exercise, or we imagine ourselves 30 days from now with more of what we want, you know, we're sort of getting a different picture, right? This ability to see everything shifts our perspective so we can see our own blind spots. Ah, see the blind spots. And understand ourselves in the context of the collective. I don't know what that means. But in order to use the third eye to see through time and space, we first have to use it to see ourselves. Well, that's what we're doing, right? That's what we're doing in this program. So, to me, it's not mystical at all, but it's certainly, before I had this realization that it was just visualizing or inner senses, I was trying to do all these yoga postures and everything, deep breathing exercises to open this, part of my brain. So here's a lady. She's written a book. I haven't read it. Chakras and Self-Care, right? Ambi Kavanaugh, her name is. She says, when fully activated and flowing harmoniously, this energy center stimulates both the left and the right hemispheres of the brain, the logical, rational left, and the creative and spiritual right side, right? So the mind can function from a balanced place. Well, again, what does that mean exactly? I guess it means whatever you want it to mean. But certainly this idea of energy flowing and activating your energy harmoniously, that's kind of what happens when we realize, hey, I do have the power to change my life and I can shift my awareness around, right? It says here, even if you don't have your sights set on becoming a proper clairvoyant, opening the third eye can still help you become better connected to your intuition. To me, intuition is just a sense that you are getting information or ideas from the future, right? And the subconscious, which you can then rely upon for guidance, says Reiki master, astrologer, and spiritual coach Ambi Kavanaugh, author of Chakras and Self-Care. When the third eye is closed or blocked, on the other hand, you may find it hard to access or trust your intuition. This can make us feel like victims of life, even though it's happening to us rather than for us, right? So, kind of fancy, mystical, woo-woo, esoteric kind of language for something that I believe is just perfectly natural, and like you were saying, Naomi, your husband has this ability to kind of visualize things, right? And I remember when I first heard about this, I couldn't visualize. And what happened to me, and I was 29 when this happened, when I signed up for this Mind Power course that I mentioned. And because it was so expensive, the equivalent of like $4,500, I think, in today's terms, I wanted to get my money's worth, so I didn't dare skip any of these visualization exercises because I wanted to get my money back, and also, my deeper purpose was to change my life, right? So I did this 20-minute visualization exercise every day for 6 months, and in fact, at the end of the 6 months, I felt so changed that I did it for another 6 months. So I actually did this, religiously, you might say, every day for over a year, probably, right? And I still do it all the time now, but now it's kind of natural. Whereas at first, I really had to struggle, I didn't really see anything because I didn't know what I was looking for, right? I mean, a lot of people, when they visualize, and this is true for me too, I don't really get a picture. I get a kind of a vague notion somehow. Like when I said I can sense that dog sitting there, right? Well, yeah, I can, but it's not a clear visual picture. I can still see the floor and everything that the dog is on, right? I can see right through the dog. It's not a real dog. But I can imagine it being there, right? So all of us have that ability. So this idea of the third eye, I think it's a really interesting notion because it's something that, literally thousands and thousands, maybe millions of people talk about, and they're aware of it, right? But they don't necessarily know that it's just the most natural thing in the world, right? We use it every day. Any comments on that?
It's a great perspective because there's so many people that can visualize stuff, especially creative people. They have that talent, innate talent. I'm more of a literal thinker, and like remodeling a house. I have to look at something to imagine what it's supposed to be. And my husband's, oh yeah, we could do this and this and that. How would that work? So
Right.
I guess, like you said, it comes naturally. I mean, to some people, and then to other people, you have to train it. And I think it's very, very trainable.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Exactly. So to me, it's kind of like I always consider myself a visual person, right? So here's my notes for today's session. You see? So I'll make a little mind map. Mind maps are great. I mean, yeah, exactly.
I like your mind maps. I really like that because a lot of your slides have like a little mind map.
Yeah.
The first little demos you had the little mind map thing that really drew me in.
Right. Yeah, I find it really valuable, And lots of times, if I can't see something, and this is true, I think, for a lot of people, if I can't see it, if I don't have a visual way of understanding it, then lots of times I don't understand it, By the way, did you happen to catch that video? I put a link to it, I think, or I put a link to it on the Discord site under, resources, I think. It's a mind map. I think it's 49 minutes. I think it's 49 minutes long, and I go through sort of like an overview of this whole what I call mental magic system, right?
You had that. I mean, so you created that a while ago, right?
Yes.
Or was it a brand new creation?
No, I think it's 5 years old or something like that.
That's one of the first videos I watched, and that kind of set the hook for me.
Right. No, I think it's a great video. So I have it on YouTube. Well, I'm glad that you saw it because I think it's good. I think it really kind of gives an overview of the whole idea of, magic, MAGIC, and how you use this workbook and set your goals and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm glad that you saw it. But yeah, so even though I think I'm a visual person, there's lots of things I can't visualize. I mean, when I talk to like an interior decorator or something like that, I mean, I feel like I'm a blind person. I can't imagine different colors and things like that. If somebody says, "Oh, imagine we're going to put something over in that corner," well, I sort of get a sense of it, but I can't really say that I see it. But certainly I've learned over the years that my ability to kind of imagine things and see things really helps me to understand. And of course, I'm not the only person. I mean, a lot of people, doodle and draw and use explanations. The old thing about the back of the napkin idea. You put your business plan.
Oh yeah, I know that. I mean, I have that book.
Right. I didn't know there was a book, but
Yeah.
I've heard the expression.
Yeah, Dan Rome is his name. Yep.
I find that I'm very auditory. Like I like audiobooks. I like to listen as opposed to read. But as I'm listening to you, I'm making it visual for myself. Like
Right.
I can't listen to something without taking notes. So it's like for me to process, it comes in through here, but then it's got to come out through here onto here so that I can see it, and then it makes sense.
Yeah, well, I think all of us are probably using all these inner senses, right? But
Yeah.
until we become aware of it or until we train it ourselves, then they're basically unconscious, right? Meaning that we're not aware of them, So the other thing that I wanted to talk about, or the next topic here, now this is going to sound maybe a little strange, but it's a concept that Einstein came up with, like in 1935 or something. So I mean, it's like 80 years old. So it's something from physics, and it's called retrocausation. Have you heard of that? Well, retrocausation basically means the idea that the cause for something can be in the future. And this is physics. I mean, this is quantum physics they're talking about, right? Quantum physics is, I've heard it said that quantum physics is the most tested and proven theory of all time. I mean, quantum theory, quantum mechanics, has basically been accepted as a true, valuable theory, but there's still, lots of things about it that people don't understand. But anyway, let me share my screen again here. I have this video. I think is about 4 minutes long. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, good.
I like the title.
We all know if Marty travels back into the past and messes with it, he makes the Biff timeline. It's casual. We all get it.
Moral of the story, if you time travel and mess with anything in the past, you automatically mess with your future. But if Marty was a quantum particle, maybe not so much.
From what we commonly understand, time has one direction. Forward into the future, from the past through the present.
But physicists are playing with the theory of retrocausality, which, if real, is the idea that the future can influence the past.
It's like if I spill coffee on my shirt tomorrow, but I see the coffee stain on my shirt today.
It's an idea that's been around for a long time, but it never caught on, because why would it? We live on a cause and effect timeline, and the theory of retrocausality didn't really fit until recently.
Some physicists think accepting retrocausality can answer a lot of unanswered questions about quantum mechanics and deepen our understanding of spooky action at a distance.
Spooky action is what Einstein called quantum entanglement back in the 1930s. He thought it was crazy that when two particles are created at the same time, they can be linked together or entangled, even if they are then separated light years apart.
And according to quantum theory, elementary particles like photons that are entangled have no definite state until they're measured by us. I mean, not like literally us, like,
Yeah, physicists.
yeah.
By measuring the spin of, say, particle A, you automatically know the value of its entangled partner, particle B.
This is because particle B is the opposite of whatever particle A was. And even though we didn't actually know what particle B was before, and we didn't observe the two particles exchange any signals when they were measured, it's spooky.
But some theorists are thinking that instead of this just being a spooky occurrence, the exchange of A and B's spins are caused by retrocausality.
The way some physicists see it, if time symmetry exists,
That's the idea that time looks the same going forwards and backwards without any issues in physics.
then retrocausality would allow particle B to go backwards in time.
When it does so, it takes the spin to the moment it was created and therefore affected its entangled partner. But how time flows is still up for debate. The second law of thermodynamics is thought to drive time as we experience it. The law says that entropy must increase with time, making time asymmetrical.
And retrocausality, well, it would break that law.
Yeah. But no one has proved that time must be symmetrical, and until that day happens, retrocausality isn't going anywhere.
So we're not time traveling anytime soon. The laws of thermodynamics are against us, and retrocausality is difficult to test because we can't witness it in our everyday lives.
People are working on theories around quantum retrocausality, but it's on the bleeding edge of the discipline. It's a bit out there. They believe if we can find evidence of retrocausality in quantum states, that would be huge.
If it does exist, we might be able to move particles through a dimension of time, which would be like time travel.
And the first step to figuring it out is determining if it even exists in the first place.
If physicists do figure it out, you know it's going to be a mind-melting explanation that I'm 100% ready to surrender my brain to. Totally, absolutely. Future me would come back to this exact moment and tell us all about it. Sometime. Everyone, you probably already know this, but this is Diana from Physics Girl on YouTube.
Hi.
Diana joined us for this episode because she knows a lot more about quantum mechanics than I do.
Just a slight bit.
A lot. So where can people find you if they want to learn more stuff about physics?
Oh, youtube.com/physicsgirl, or just Google Physics Girl. It pops up.
Definitely. Also Twitter and reference.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Future you chimed in and wants to let you know you should subscribe for more videos because you liked them. One last thing, some cosmologists say that there are an infinite number of universes with an infinite number of yous and us's, but only one where we beat Thanos. Thanks for watching.
Okay, so what did you think of that?
I learned a bunch of new words today.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's right. So what they're talking about there is physics, right? Physics is a hard science, mathematics, measuring things in a laboratory and stuff like that. But to me, what I always get out of this is they're talking about my thinking, my mind, right? They're talking about the inner world. They say things like, you know, some physicists believe there's an infinite number of possible worlds, right? Well, I can certainly imagine an infinite number of possible worlds. I can imagine when this call is over in a few minutes, you know, when we wrap up, I might go down to the beach, I might stay here, I might have a nap, you know, I might watch TV. All of those are possible realities, right? So these guys, so what I'm trying to say here is that, number one, I want you to understand that the idea of retrocausality, the future affecting the past, is a real concept that physicists and mathematicians and people like that are working on, you know, every day, right? So basically it's a concept, but I've always used it as a way to describe my thinking, right? So they talk about spooky action at a distance, the idea that two particles are connected, and by understanding what one is doing, you know, you can understand the other one, and if you change the one, then the other one changes too. That sounds kind of weird, but the way I think about it, this is what I'm doing with my past self and my future self, right? And so if I have something happened to me in the past, which I consider negative, right? And I can change that by shifting my belief or shifting my perspective, like we've talked about, you know, reframing a past negative event so that you actually start to think of it as a positive learning experience, right? Then that changes you in the present. It's like you're connected, right? That past event and your present situation, they're both connected, like those two particles, right? And what's a particle? Well, nobody knows. Nobody knows what a particle is. But, and this guy made a joke, right? He thought it was funny. He said, it's kind of like if I spill coffee on my shirt tomorrow, but I can see the stain today. Ha ha ha. Well, I can see the stain today. I can imagine it, right? Same as I can imagine that dog sitting in the middle of the living room. So it's like, you know, what he's talking about is something happening tomorrow that he can see the effect of today. Well, I can imagine that right now. If I have a job interview, you know, tomorrow, and I say, what clothes should I wear? What do I think would be the appropriate thing? Should I go in casual, you know, open neck shirt, golf shirt, or should I wear, you know, dress shirt with my suit and a fancy tie? Well, I can make a decision based on what I think would be the best thing to do tomorrow, and I can make that decision now. I can imagine it now, and that'll change my behavior now, right? It'll change my present. So to me, that's an example of the future affecting the present, right? Because I can imagine outfit A or outfit B. I don't know what's the most appropriate one to wear, but if I decide outfit A would be a better choice, then I can make sure, you know, I iron my shirt, make sure that I have a tie without any coffee stains on it, you know, to wear for this job interview. So to me, that's retrocausation in a real natural sort of everyday, common sense way, right? Even though it sounds kind of spooky.
Like preparing for the future, preparing for something that's coming up. It's the preparation action.
That's right. That's right. You know, like if I'm going to have a dinner party and I say, hey, you know, so-and-so talked about maybe bringing a friend of hers who's visiting her. Well, if this friend comes, I'm not going to have enough chairs, right? So I better get another chair. So I can go in the present, I can go to my next door neighbor and say, hey, can I borrow a chair? Because I'm having a dinner party tomorrow and I'm going to be short a chair. Or I might be short a chair, right? And then, so I borrow the chair. That's me in the present, making a decision and doing something in the present because of some future possible reality that I'm thinking about, right? So tomorrow, if I have the dinner party and my friend doesn't bring the friend, then I have an extra chair. No big deal, right? But if she does bring the friend, hey, I got enough chairs. People think, oh, gee, you're a genius, you were prepared. How did you do that? Intuition, right? Psychic ability, clairvoyant, right? Well, yeah, you can call it that. If you're a yogi, maybe you call it that. But from another perspective, it's me just making a plan for dinner tomorrow night, right? So this has been my quest, really, for my whole life, really, is to sort of explain, for me, first of all, but also now for other people, some of this weird stuff, psychic ability, time travel, explain it in a way that relates to you and me and our life, fixing our life, improving our life step by step, by using our imagination, imagining the future. What kind of future would I want, and how do I get there? And the other part is reviewing the past, reframing the past, changing the past. When you change the past, it changes your self-image in a big way, because rather than thinking, oh, I had all these failures in the past, now you're thinking, oh, I had all these learning experiences, right? And of course, if you learn from them, then they benefit you. So it's a positive thing. So one of the things that the guy measured, or that the guy mentioned in that video, the guy that was talking about retrocausation, he said when people measure, and he says not us, but I mean scientists, they in the laboratory, they measure, right? Well, to me, that was one of the key ideas that I realized way back in around 1980 when I first came upon this idea that time travel kind of explains how my mind is working, right? And they talk about measurement. So it's like they don't know what direction this theoretical particle is spinning until they measure it, right? Well, the thing that I realized is, who does the measuring in my life? It's me, right? If I decide that shining my shoes improves my life, and therefore is proof and evidence that I have the power to improve my life today, that's what matters to me, right? It's me saying, these are my criteria, this is how I measure it, and I'm in charge of what I believe about myself, right? So, so I think, even though they're kind of making light of it and saying, oh, isn't this interesting, quantum mechanics and blah, blah, blah. I'm sitting here thinking, this is me. This is my life. This is my memory. It's my planning for the future. It's using my inner senses, right? So again, I've always said, that I'm using quantum physics, quantum mechanics as a metaphor, right? As a metaphor of time. Do we actually travel in time? Is there a part of our mind that actually travels in time? I certainly think it's possible, but they don't talk about that because they're always hung up on physical things, right? For example, he mentioned about moving a particle backwards in time. Well, somebody calculated that if you're going to move a particle physically backward in time, if you could do it, it would take more energy than there is in the whole universe. So, like physically, they say, oh, it's impossible. But I can move my imagination back in time. I can remember I was watching a movie last night on TV with my wife. I can go back there and re-experience that in my imagination, right? So, so that idea of retrocausation, I think, is really interesting in terms of thinking about making decisions now based on what we want our future to be, right? If I've got a party to go to in a month, like if I'm going to go to my high school reunion, I'm going to try and lose 10 pounds. you know, everybody would do that, right? I think, you know, like a lot of people, you know, say, gee, you know, I don't want to show up at my high school reunion and have everybody looking at me saying, ooh, man, that guy, you know, he's not looking after himself, right? So that's, to me, that's time travel. That's mental time travel. So, now, one thing I want to talk about here is what I call the one key thing, right? Because this is what we're looking for. We're looking for the one key thing that when we change it, it changes everything, right? So I'll give you a couple of examples here. So the one key thing could be a belief that you realize, oh, I'm actually feeling the way I'm feeling because I believe this. But what if I didn't believe that? You know, what if I didn't have that belief? Or it could be a mental posture, like a way of looking at something, right? You know, imagining, you know, they talk about making a mountain out of a molehill, right? Well, that's a literal visual thing that we do. You know, we have a problem and it just seems so overwhelming to us, right? Well, one of the techniques that they teach in NLP is shrink it down. You know, imagine that you're looking at the problem from 100 yards away. It seems real tiny, right? Oh, it's just a simple little problem, you know. Or look in the context of your life, you know, in you know, your whole year. This little problem you're having right now that you're so hung up on, it's just one other thing. It's just one other little thing to deal with, right? So you shrink it down and then you feel better. You can deal with it. So it might be a point of view. Now in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, if you know anything about it, Naomi, they talk about being associated or disassociated, right? So for example, if I imagine myself going to the store and buying a loaf of bread, well, I can imagine myself in the store. It's like I'm watching a movie in my imagination, right? So that's disassociated. Here I am in my room right now talking to you guys, and I'm imagining being in the store, right? So it's like I'm imagining myself as though I'm imagining another person, right? That's disassociated. But if I imagine I'm in the store, right? I used to be home having that Zoom call, but now here I am in the store squeezing the loaves of bread and deciding on which loaf of bread I want to buy. Now I'm associated. In other words, I'm in my body, right? In the future, in the store, I'm imagining being inside my body, remembering being at home on that Zoom call, right? So that's associated. So that can change everything. It can change how you feel, can change how things appear to you. It can change the ideas that you get, right? So all of these things could be the one key thing that for you that makes the difference. It could be looking at it a different way. It could be shrinking it down, blowing it up, changing a definition. It could be a role that you've assumed in the past that you forgot about, and you're still acting from that role, right? Or it could be a decision that you've made in the past that you forgot about. Like I mentioned William, you know, when he was 15, deciding that when I get older, if I'm successful enough, I want to move my family to Canada, and then forgetting about it. And then 25 years later, here he is, and forgot about it until I mentioned, you know, oh, I wrote this book about making decisions that affect your life, right? So the one key thing, so I'll give you a couple of examples. So Jessica, a couple of weeks ago, talked about being liberated because she suddenly, you know, she was feeling blocked about moving to this other place, right? Sechelt on the Sunshine Coast, and suddenly became aware that the reason she was feeling sort of, I can't do that, and I don't know why, when she realized that some years ago she decided she had to stay close to her son. So I can't move because I got to stay close to where he is. Well, here it is now, years later, he's older. Now it's no problem, right? If she moves to a place that's an hour or two away. She doesn't have to stay close to him all the time. So there's the one key thing, right? It's like, that belief, that decision I made, that's the thing that's causing me to feel that I'm blocked now, that I can't do it, right? And I gave an example before. I'm not sure if you saw it, Naomi, when I talked about quitting smoking.
Oh,
One of the things, great, you got my book. Fantastic.
Got it.
Fantastic. One of the things was I had this affirmation that said I'm a non-smoker. And even after I had stopped smoking and hadn't had a puff of a cigarette for like 3 or 4 months, I still felt when I read that affirmation, I'm a non-smoker, I felt that it's not true. And I thought, this is dangerous here. If I'm still feeling like I'm not a non-smoker, I'm liable to start smoking again without, because it fits my self-image of a smoker, right? So I thought, I got to figure out why I don't believe it. And after thinking about it, meditating on it, using my inner senses, I realized that, when I made the decision to quit smoking, I said, if I can last for a year without smoking, I won't have any more cravings, and I'll be a non-smoker. So a non-smoker is somebody who doesn't have any cravings. But I was still having cravings after 3 months. So I thought, I'm not a non-smoker, right? So I thought, I got to change that definition. So I changed the definition to, I can have cravings all right as long as I deal with them. As long as I can avoid smoking, using these techniques that I talked about in that book there. It doesn't matter if I have cravings or not, as long as I don't give in to them, right? And instantly I said, that's what a non-smoker is. It's somebody who might have cravings, but just doesn't give in to them and doesn't smoke. And so instantly my self-image changed from still being a smoker to being a non-smoker. So that was the one key thing in that situation, right? It was the definition that I had believed, that a non-smoker is somebody who doesn't have any cravings. And I wasn't even aware of it until I thought about it, and I realized, hey, a non-smoker can have cravings all right, they just don't give into them, right? They're dealing with the cravings. That's what a non-smoker is. And I thought to myself, well, I'm that way now, right? I'm dealing with the cravings now. So so that's the one key thing. It's like, and that's what we look for. I think last week, Naomi, or maybe the week before, you asked me about, visualizing and stuff, and how do you do it, and how often do you do it, and I was saying, well, you keep doing it until it works, right? And so that's what I was thinking about, this idea of the one key thing. It's like, you were talking before about feeling like you're not good enough, right? Well, if you keep thinking about that, looking at it from different directions, using your journal, what ideas are you getting? How are you feeling? Why do I believe that I don't deserve it? One day you go, I see where that came from. Something that my mother said, something that my teacher said, something that I accepted as true when I was 5, something like that, right? And when you realize that, you can go, I'll change it now, I am good enough, right? I'm certainly good enough to wash the dishes. I'm good enough to cook dinner for my family, right? I'm good enough to buy my own clothes, right? See, I buy all my own clothes now. So, I deserve to have nice clothes, right? So there's a video, there's a guy, I mentioned his name, I think a week or two ago. His name is Benjamin Hardy. And he talks about acting from the position of your future self. And he also, which is great, I'll send you a link to that video. It's on YouTube. And also, there's another video which I found yesterday, I think, and I was watching it. And so I want to send you a link to that one too. And he's talking about achieving goals. And so he has some really interesting things to say, which what I noticed and what caught my attention was the idea that when you think about your goal, first of all, you have to conceive of it. I mentioned this already, you know, this quote from Napoleon Hill: what I can conceive and believe, I can achieve. And he came to the same realization that I did, which is, okay, first of all, you have to conceive it. That means seeing it, planning it, thinking about it, defining it. Like if you're going to build a house, you have to have plans. You have to have a drawing of the house before you can build it, right? So that's the conceiving part. But then the most important part is the believing. When you think about it, how do you feel? If you don't feel that you deserve it, if you don't feel that you're ready, if you don't feel that it's something that you should have in your life, you're going to block it. Unconsciously, you're going to block it. The same as Jessica blocked moving to Seashell for a long time because she had this feeling that, oh, I can't move. And then she realized, oh, it's because I made that decision when my son was young. I got to stay close to him, right? So I'll send you links to those 2 videos because I think what he says is really, really profound. And it fits right into what we're talking about here, you know, using your future self and your past self. So, yes, comment?
Well, this whole thing, it's just a revelation that, you know, we have all this. It's just controlling our way of thinking, being self-aware that it exists. You know, the visualization, the future, the past, the way you look at it. It's just being self-aware and controlling it. It's kind of like, so we had a dog, a border collie, and their instinct. And if you don't control it and work with their instinct, then it all goes bad. But it's all there. It's just like for us, it's all there. We just have to be self-aware and control it and use it for our good, which is, again, setting the goals and the visualization and all in a positive direction. It's not just something new. We already have it. I think that's kind of what you were alluding to, is like there's no advanced mind, time, power, talent. It's just because it's already there. It's just the ability to control it and be self-aware about it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You are 100% correct. But, or, you know, however, let me throw this in. When you say just be aware and just control it, that's the work. That's the work we have to do, right? Is to be more aware and to learn how to control it. It's like, oh, okay, rather than thinking of it that way, I want to think of it this way. Then it changes, right? So when I decided, okay, a non-smoker is somebody who controls the cravings and doesn't give in. Okay, that's me, you know. But when I said a non-smoker is somebody who doesn't have any cravings, that wasn't really true, but I believed it was true, and it was blocking me from feeling that I was a non-smoker, right? So yeah, you're exactly right, Naomi. And this is what all of the...
It's never ending.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not just a check mark. It's a process, like you say. It's a total process.
Yeah, what I was thinking about this week, there's a book. I'm not sure if I ever read it. It's certainly a famous book. I should probably read it. M. Scott Peck, I think. The Road Less Traveled, right? So I was thinking about what we're doing here as a journey, right? As a road. Like we're on the path, and this is kind of what the Buddhists talk about. You know, they have this term bodhisattva, which means the awakening consciousness, right? It's like we're expanding our consciousness, or we're becoming more awake, right? Buddha means awake. So Buddha was the awakened one. He was the one who was like fully awake, right? But the rest of us are half asleep. But the journey to become more awake, that's basically the path that we're on in this program. So yeah, like every step along the path, you know, you get a little more aware, you get a little more conscious, right? So what about as an affirmation this week? My consciousness is expanding. So I'm more, yeah, I'm more conscious now of aspects of my past that I had forgotten about. So I'm more conscious of my past. That's true for me. I'm more conscious of my future in terms of setting goals. You know, what do I want, right? You know, we're planning a trip to Ontario at the end of the month, and so I'm more conscious now of where we're going to go, how we're going to go, where we're going to stay, people we're going to visit, you know, that kind of thing. So my consciousness, my awareness of that is expanding.
I truly believe every Saturday morning when I spend time with you, my consciousness is expanding. So
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
yeah,
I'll tell you, you know.
some good nuggets today. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so, oh, by the way, what I was going to say, what I wanted to say in response to that is, you know, after we do these sessions, I go over them and I edit them and I put in some video or put in some pictures and stuff sometimes, or write in the affirmation, you know, so people can read it. And what I find, so I have to maybe watch the video 3 or 4 times to do that. And what I find is they get better every time, you know. By the time I go through it 3 or 4 times, it's like, wow, you know, that was a good one. So I'm really thrilled that you guys are participating and giving me the opportunity to talk about this too, because it's a great opportunity for me.
Well, it's a huge opportunity for me, so I love being here.
Okay, well, thanks.
Ditto.
See you next week.
Bye.
All right. Take care.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
For more information about this online community, to get your own copy of the book upon which this entire training series is based, either the ebook, the paperback, or the audiobook, go to mindtimeandpower.com, where you can also get a free copy of this Design Your Life workbook.